Good evening and welcome to our fourth episode of Sports Hour of the semester. I am Kevin Syracuse, along with Dante Lasting, making his debut on TV. If the name sounds familiar, me and Dante have a Buffalo Bills postgame show on Fredonia Radio every Sunday night from 8 to 9, so I can put the voice to the face to the voice, however you want to say it. But Dante, glad to have you on.
I'm glad to be here.
So before we get to the NFL, some Fredonia sports news. The Fredonia men's soccer team earned a split in the North Country this weekend, losing to Plattsburgh 2-0 on Friday, but beating Potsdam 3-1 on Saturday. In Saturday's win, Colin Murphy, Jackson Bradstreet, and Chad Wilson each scored for the Blue Devils. The men are back in action this weekend as they host Oneonta on Friday and New Paltz on Saturday. The women's soccer team played Plattsburgh and Potsdam at home this weekend, tying with the Cardinals 3-3 on Friday and defeating the Bears 2-1 in overtime on Saturday. Sophia Alessi, Lauren Cullen, and Melanie Minotti scored for the Devils on Friday, while Minotti scored both goals in Saturday's win. The women are on the road next weekend as they take on Oneonta and New Paltz. And the women's tennis team continued their hot start to the season as they beat Cortland on Friday 6-3 and Oswego Saturday 9-0. Sarah Baum improved to 11-0 in doubles this year, breaking the previous school record. The women are now 10-1 this season and look to stay hot this weekend in Binghamton as they take on Oneonta and New Paltz. So a good weekend, I guess you could say a good week for Fredonia sports. And unfortunately, we can't do the same for the Bills this week.
We did not. We definitely not. It was a tough loss. It said it happened, but we're going to lose sometime. We can't win every game, but the way the game happened, it was tough. It was excruciating to watch. Just defense played so well, offense not so much.
So me and I are both at the game, and I think that's what made it extra kind of hard to come to terms with. But like you said, I mean, all the good things must come to an end. The Bills are going to be 16-0 this year.
Nice.
No one goes 16-0, so I knew they were going to lose. It just stinks that they had to lose to the Patriots because
Definitely.
we all know how we feel about Patriots in this part of the country.
And in this room.
Yeah, but I think the biggest takeaway from this game has to be Josh Allen and that hit. And I'm so fired up from that because I woke up this morning to find out that Jonathan Jones is not suspended, nor is going to be suspended. So he gets away with nothing. They might give him a little fine. Ooh, a little fine. I don't get it. I wish we had the graphic to show.
It was such a bad hit.
But then again, I don't even want to see it again.
Yeah. He was wrapped up. He was going to the ground, and okay, you tackle him, another tackler, you don't have to go for the head.
Exactly. And there are people on Twitter and social media and just in the news saying it was a clean hit, which is just ridiculous.
No hit to the head is a clean hit.
Exactly. They're like, well, he couldn't do much because Allen became a runner and he was already getting wrapped up, and Jones he didn't lower his shoulder, he just stood in position and Allen ran into him. But, I mean, if you're Jones, obviously you can't hit someone in the head, so just duck your head and wrap him up around the legs. He could have moved. Yeah, he was in a good position. He could have been way better position.
Definitely.
So, I mean, it's just ironic that it had to be the Patriots that didn't get a suspension from that.
Yeah.
And you look at someone like Vontaze Burfict get suspended for the whole season, which is great. I love that because Burfict's one of the dirtiest, if not the dirtiest, in the game today. And I'm glad they suspended 12 games, which is the rest of the year. He deserves it. He should probably be banned from the league, in my opinion. But if you're going to do that, perfect. Give Jones at least 4 games, if not more. I mean, enough's enough. And then the NFL used the picture of Jones hitting Allen as the cover photo for the game. They changed it because I'm sure it got a lot of backlash. But are you kidding me?
As NFL, if you're going for player safety, to have that picture on YouTube for the recap, it's you just can't have that.
Yeah, so if that wasn't clear, if you went on Google and searched Bills versus Patriots, watch highlights. The little clip from YouTube showed Jones hitting Allen in the head. That was the picture that they used. And then they changed it to something like Jason or Devin McCourty
One of their
intercepting
interceptions,
one
yes.
John Brown going for it, but it's just ridiculous. But anyways, so yeah, that was obviously one of my biggest takeaways, and obviously for most Bills fans, because now it's all about Josh Allen himself
Yep.
and next week against Tennessee. But as for the game itself, the defense, phenomenal. Offense, not so much. I mean, the defense made Brady look like a 42-year-old. 18 to 39, 150 yards, no touchdowns, an interception, and a 45.9 rating, his lowest since '06. You can't ask for a better performance from the defense. And 9 points. 7 of them came from the block.
That's a lot of fun.
So the defense, phenomenal. Offense, just a case of too many turnovers. Josh Allen looked nervous in the beginning. The Patriots threw a lot of different formations at him than he wasn't used to. And the special teams hurt us too. So offense and special teams
Definitely.
were the key points to the loss.
The thing is, it's early in the season. It was a tough loss based on how we lost, but I think that we can bounce back.
Yeah, so to put it in perspective, the Bills are still 3-1. They are in the top 3 in the AFC.
Yes.
It's them, the Patriots, and the Chiefs
Yes.
that are 3-1. So obviously the Bills are still in great position. They go to Tennessee. If Josh Allen's not ready, I think most Bills fans are confident in Matt Barkley.
Definitely. The way he played against the Jets last year, I really think that he can win the game.
Yeah, and then we hit the bye, and then we have Miami, Philadelphia, Washington.
All at home.
Yeah, 3 straight home games, and then Cleveland, and I won't get too far into the schedule, but the point is, a lot of winnable games for the Bills coming up.
Definitely. And if we can get Josh Allen healthy, if he can have this week off and next week for the bye, I think that'll be a really good thing. Have him mentally watch film and learn from his mistakes to go through the rest of the season.
Think about last year when he sat behind Barkley and Derek Anderson, how
Definitely.
much better he was. So it could be another blessing in disguise.
Definitely.
So as for their next opponent, the Titans, I always think of them as one of the most inconsistent teams in the league.
They
They're
really are.
really bad one week and really good another week. Yesterday they beat the Falcons 24-10.
With them, the past 3 seasons they've finished 9-7. That's not really what you're aiming for. It's great you're not finishing bottom of the league, but it's with the Bengals. They made it to the playoffs and never won a game. You have to see improvement, and eventually the coach got fired. This is the second year of that coach, but
Is there a coach now, Vrabel?
yes, my very bad. You have to start to see some improvement, and with Mariota, it's a contract year. You need to see some improvement. They have to get beyond the hump of 9-7, and 2-2, not a great start, some blowout wins, and some close losses. But it all depends on Mariota. If you can sack him, you can get the win. If you can make him look pedestrian, like our defense can do, the Bills, then I think it's definitely a winnable game.
So Mariota was 18-27 yesterday, 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. So one of his better performances. Had a 22 yards on the ground. Derrick Henry, 27 rushes for 100 yards. And A.J. Brown, 3 catches, 94 yards. Corey Davis, 5 catches, 91 yards. And didn't he make a highlight reel catch? Or is it another?
I think that's another game.
Okay, but they do have some talent on that offense. So
And the defensive side.
yeah,
With Vrabel coaching them up, they do have some they do have some defensive players, but as a whole, up and down, shaky, and it just depends what team we get next week.
I think if the Bills defense plays like they do, like they did against New England, there's no reason why we can't beat the Titans, because I believe that our offense, at least with Josh Allen and Devin Singletary, which would be key if we get him back, with a full offense, I believe the Bills are slightly better than the Titans offense, and our defense is a lot better. I mean, the defense is arguably top 5 in the league.
Yes.
So I think the Bills right now have the edge. I mean, they're favored by, who's it?
We're not favored.
No? I thought I saw they were favored.
Titans are favored 2.5 points.
I thought I saw the Bills are favored by 3.5. Huh. Okay, well, anyways, I'm favoring the Bills by 3.5. So, yeah, so Bills and Titans next week should be a good game. And elsewhere in the league, the Browns finally broke out.
Definitely, this was their coming out game. They scored 40 points against the Ravens, which supposedly have good defense over the past 2 weeks against the Chiefs, and then the Browns, they haven't lived up to it.
Yeah, so it was finally the type of game that Browns fans and fantasy owners wanted to see Baker Mayfield threw for over 300. Nick Chubb ran for over 300, and Jarvis Landry had over 150 receiving yards. I believe it was like the first time in team history that they had all that happen. So, and of course, I had Jarvis Landry on my bench. But
I had Chubb on my fantasy team. He got me the win this week. But I do have Odell Beckham. We have Odell Beckham Jr. still on the team in the decoy role. And
he's been shadowed all game.
Exactly. And for a team, that's how they often work. Sometimes it'll be Jarvis Landry, sometimes it'll be Odell Beckham Jr. And to have that, that's how they can win games like this.
So, another team, or another player that I did have in my starting lineup that pretty much won my league, Leonard Fournette, finally broke out. 225 rushing yards, 57 points in my league. The Jaguars beat the Broncos 26-24. Broncos are 0-4, and it's only going to make it worse. Bradley Chubb's towards ACL. He's out of the year.
It's terrible how they've lost both of their home games versus the Bears and the Jaguars. Joe Flacco brings them down the field, score a touchdown, and the defense can't stop the other team from going down and kicking a field goal in the game. It's probably definitely hard for the home fans having to watch that, and starting 1-4 with a rookie head coach, it's not a good time for this year.
And Gardner Minshew again, 19-33, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not the flashiest numbers, but he did have a flashy play. He escaped pressure and found, who was it in the end zone? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But he had a really nice touchdown, so the legend continues with Gardner Minshew.
You got another one?
Yeah. So the Jaguars are 2-2 now.
A lot of teams are 2-2.
Yeah. Which is nice to finally have that cushion, but
yes,
the Bills would be in that top tier in the AFC. It feels good, even after a loss. Let's see, the next game, we have another team that the Bills are battling with right now for top seedings, at least as of now. Kansas City, who is just like I think I said the Chiefs were 3-1 at the top of the show. I might have. Either way, they're 4-0 now.
Yep, they're 4-0. They played a close game with the Lions. Lions were up early, but then Casey came back, and they won the game, 34-30. It was the Lions. They held their own though. They kept Patrick Mahomes out of the end zone. He didn't throw a touchdown for the first time since Week 5, 2018. So, I mean, the Lions are definitely proving themselves. They do have a tough division though.
Yeah.
Packers, Vikings, Bears, but they have a great coach in Matt Patricia, and I think that they can be special this season.
What was their record last year?
6-10, I believe.
Yeah, they were really bad last year, and they're projected to be really bad this year. And they're turning a lot of heads this year already. I mean, that was their first loss. They're 2-1 now.
Definitely.
Matt Stafford, 21-34, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think they finally found a solid RB1 with Kerryon Johnson.
Yes, finally.
Yeah. And
I think if that
Kenny Galladay's really come on, Marvin Jones.
Yeah, they have the offensive weapons, and I think if the defense continues to play well, and Matt Stafford continues to play at the level that he has played in the past, but now they have the explosive weapons on offense. T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end, and I think that they can possibly be a playoff team if they keep on this caliber.
So the next game we have, the Raiders and Colts. The Raiders got a win this week, 31-24, and again, like we said, perfect with that dirty hit on Dak Doyle.
It was just terrible.
I don't know which one was dirtier. They were both so dirty between that and the Jonathan Jones one, but the perfect one. I mean,
He was down.
yeah, he was already down.
He was down.
And I think that one has to be worse because at least it was kind of bang bang with the Josh Allen one. This one, Doyle was already down and perfect, literally just went in with his head. How many times do you say that he's been suspended now?
12 times in his career.
I think the league just needs to throw him out.
Definitely. And if you see all this for marijuana use, they're getting games deducted for PEDs, for all the other type of stuff. They're getting 4 games. And even for domestic abuse. They're getting so many chances, and they shouldn't. Like, there has to be a line. They have to draw a line in the sand, where at some point, no matter how good the player is, it can't go on anymore.
Yeah, you got to figure something out because all these penalties and fines and suspensions, they're not equal. And I think I saw like a tweet that said like if he wanted to continue playing this year, he should have just hit his wife instead of hitting back to oil. I mean, it shouldn't have, but I mean it's kind of true. Like you only get 4 games for that, and now you get 12, which is good. But at the same time, like I feel like the league's just not consistent with these. You have to make like one rule and stick with it.
Definitely. And that's been the biggest fault of the commissioner, Roger Goodell.
Yeah. So, real quick before we hit the break, Chargers beat Dolphins 30-10. Rosen did throw his first touchdown as a Dolphin, but the Chargers improved their record to 2-2, right?
Yes.
So 2-2 now. The Dolphins fall to 0-4, which is no surprise. But we'll be back in 2 minutes to talk about the NFC, so stay tuned to that.
Hi! You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
Probably scratch the bathroom, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay. Is it okay? If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll chat you later.
I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judged me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I realize that I'm not going to judge me, but it all really started to change. I realize that I'm not listening, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And welcome back. So now, talking about the NFC here, we finally had a good primetime game on Thursday night. The Eagles and Packers. The Eagles escaped Lambeau with a win, 34-27. But that game, again, 2 more serious head injuries in that game.
With Williams, and that was in the first quarter. He got hit, and he was out. They had a stretcher. They had to bring a stretcher out, and that wasn't intentional. And it happens in the NFL, but it's definitely rough to watch. And with Avonte Maddox, that was his own player, his own teammate.
Yeah.
His own teammate knocked him out, and it's just rough to watch. But that game, like you said, it was one of the best Thursday night football games we've had this season.
So the Packers, they were undefeated. Now they're 3-1. The Eagles are now 2-2. Yeah, they're 2-2. So, just finally a good primetime game. And then another good game, Panthers and Texans. Kyle Allen again.
2 straight wins.
Yeah.
The Panthers offense looks alive. They look like an actual team with Cam Newton now. Cam Newton's a great player, but he's been injured since last year, and I think that they're going in the right direction with Kyle Allen.
And he admitted to playing through that injury.
Definitely.
To the first few weeks of the year. And I knew something was wrong because he was not the same Cam Newton.
He wasn't.
I mean, he was starting to get made fun of with memes and, just all these videos on Twitter and stuff. And I was like, you go from this guy's the league MVP a couple years ago to one of the biggest jokes. I was like, something's not right here. So, yeah, he has that foot injury now. And
it's still the shoulder. He had shoulder surgery in the offseason. So, I mean, it has to be hard to come back from, especially if you're not 100%. But they haven't had a good backup in a long time. But now they can, and they can get him to 100% and hopefully win games later in the season.
So, Panthers took that one 16-10. Giants and Redskins. This one really wasn't a game. It was all Giants, 24-3. And the storyline from this one has to be the quarterback situation for each team. First of all, Daniel Jones impresses again for the Giants. And the Redskins, I don't know what's going on with them. Case Keenum was not good. Dwayne Haskins struggled. And now they're saying Colt McCoy could start against the Patriots.
Well, Dwayne Haskins was never ready to play. That's been known. The coaches knew that. I don't know why they made the decision to put him in because he is just not ready. He threw 3 picks, and you could see that. I really hope they don't play him against the Patriots. The Patriots next week will eat him up alive. It's just not good for his growth and development in the league to start somebody when they're not ready. And it's just not a good situation down there in Washington. I don't know how much longer the head coach will have his job. But going over to the Giants, I think they're so relieved that they made the switch from Eli Manning to it's a whole different team. You can see just on the defensive side, they're playing better, they're getting interceptions, and this is without Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Wayne Gallman, he had 1 touchdown passing, or not passing, but receiving, and 1 rushing. And in the absence of Saquon Barkley, they barely missed a step. Saquon Barkley is a great player, but in this game, they didn't really miss him. So
yeah. And going back to last week's game, I don't know if Eli Manning would have brought them back from 18 down.
I don't think he would have.
No, that is a lot has to do with the Bucs didn't have a lot of tape on Daniel Jones, so they couldn't really scheme for him. But the fact of the matter is, he led them to an 18-point comeback in his debut.
Yep.
So between that and his preseason, I know it's early, but he really does seem like the real deal. For all the criticism he got leading into the draft and after the draft, after the Giants drafted him. So I'm happy for Daniel Jones.
And even the future, even next year, he has an offseason, maybe get more weapons on the offensive and defensive side. I really think that the Giants might be coming back into relevancy.
So another game we had, the Seahawks and the Cardinals. This one was never really a game either. Seahawks took that one 27-10. Arizona is 0-3-1 now, so Kyler Murray still does not have a win. Russell Wilson looked good again, 22-28, 240 yards and a touchdown. Chris Carson, as he's the running back, won there, 104 yards on 22 touches. And, Kyler Murray, 22 of 32, 241 yards and a pick. So I don't really know about the Cardinals. I mean, obviously I think this year is definitely a rebuild year for them.
Definitely.
But they're not going to be terrible, I don't think. I mean, I think they can at least get 5, 6, 7 wins.
Yeah, they have to gel as an offense. They have to. There's so many new pieces, even with a new head coach, a new coordinator. There's so many new things in Arizona. They just need time.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year, hopefully next year, but it's not working out right now. He's a young player. He's athletic. He's a good athlete. I think they just need more time.
Next game, Buccaneers and Rams. Tampa Bay unleashed 55 points on the Rams. Not top ranked, but definitely one of the top ranked top
definitely
defenses in the league. So 55-40 was the final, and this is definitely the game that Tampa Bay needed, especially after that loss to the Giants.
Definitely, Chris Godwin had an amazing game. Jameis Winston, he can win games. It's just he throws too many interceptions. And this game he didn't. And that's why they won the game. Jameis Winston really looked good in this game against a middle-of-the-pack, maybe even better defense. And it's a good win for the Bucs. I'm proud of Bruce Arians and what he's done for that team. I really think they have the offensive weapons to be good in the NFC South, where we don't really know what's going on with the Falcons. The Saints lost Drew Brees. They've been playing well. I don't know. The Bucs play the Saints next week. And with the Panthers, with Kyle Allen, it's just a lot of uncertainty. So with that veteran status, it bodes well for them.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Chris Godwin. People talked about him in the offseason as one of the most underrated players coming into this season, and I was like, I don't know about that. But he is one of the top receivers in the league this year. He had 172 yards and 2 touchdowns yesterday.
Crazy for anyone fantasy-wise. Yeah. Just stats in regular football. Like, it's an insane number, and just good for him.
Yeah, and you pair that with Mike Evans, 4 catches, 89 yards. I mean, what a duo they're forming down there.
Yeah, definitely. I said when Melvin Gordon was holding out with the Chargers, if the Bucs got him, that offense would be brought to another level. But that didn't happen. He's back with the Chargers. But still, Ronald Jones is playing well. He had 70 yards and a touchdown. So this offense is clicking.
Yeah, that's interesting because they were going with Peyton Barber a lot.
Yes.
But I watched Ronald Jones at USC when he was in college a couple years ago, and he was a real good runner. And he had a really nice week 1 this year, too. And he was kind of, put on the bench behind Barber for the first couple weeks. And now they let him, I don't know if he started yesterday, but he got the majority of the touches.
Definitely.
And it showed. So I'm happy for the Bucs because they've always been a team that's kind of,
and with their defense,
just that classic 6-10, 7-9 team.
Definitely. But this year, Todd Bowles coming in, the old Jets head coach, he has really revamped that defense. You have Shaq Barrett.
Yeah.
He was on the Broncos. He won Super Bowl 50 with them in his rookie year. He was on the Broncos. He had 8.5 sacks his last 3 seasons. He has 9 in the first 4 games. Like, they just unleashed him. 9 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and an interception in the first 4 games. That is it's crazy numbers for anyone. And you see the Broncos, where he left, they just got their first sacks in this week's game. They didn't have any, and they're struggling. So good for him. He is going to be a player to watch this season to see if he continues, falls off a little bit, but good for him.
Now, a team that had no offense yesterday, the Minnesota Vikings. They lost to Chicago 16-6, and it's not crunch time in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins, but a lot of people are getting on Kirk Cousins right now. 27-36, 233 yards, no touchdowns. And there was just no offense at all.
None. And give credit to that Bears defense. They really swallowed them up. That Vikings offensive line didn't have anything. They had no answers for this Bears defense. And they're saying that this Bears defense could be better than last year's. And that Bears defense was great. They have a lot of the same people. They got some new pieces in that defense. But I really think this Bears team, with an offense, it's just like the Bills. If their offense can do average, the defense can make up for it.
Yeah.
And even so, the quarterback went out first quarter with a shoulder injury. They play the Raiders next week in London. They have the same situation. They might have their backup play next week, and then they have a bye week. So it's very similar in that respect.
Yeah, so Mitch Trubisky is out with a dislocated shoulder and a torn labrum. He does not need surgery, but I think the quote was Adam Schefter said he'll be back sooner rather than later.
Yes.
So the Bears got the win, and the Vikings, I mean, I don't know what's going on. Adam Thielen, he's on my fantasy team too. 2 catches, 6 yards. And he finally opened up his mouth after the game and said, well, we got to start throwing the ball. They're trying to keep feeding Dalvin Cook, and he's been one of the top rushers in the league this year. But you have Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. They both combined for over 2,000 last year.
Yeah.
And we just haven't seen the production out of them this year. So, I don't know. Minnesota's got to figure something out. They have a new offensive coordinator.
Definitely.
But so far, it's really not working. They're 2-2. Bears go to 3-1. And then the last game last night, Saints and Cowboys, another good primetime game. The Saints took that one 12-10 without Drew Brees, obviously. So Teddy Bridgewater got the win. And it was the first time since 1998 the Saints won without scoring a touchdown.
Yep. It was a defensive battle, but the Saints played well enough. Their defense really, like the Bears, the defense really just swallowed up the offensive line, and they controlled the game. And the Cowboys, who came in on a hot streak, they were playing offense really well, but the Saints defense just controlled the game, and Teddy Bridgewater did enough to win the game.
I'm happy for Bridgewater because
definitely.
There's so much pressure on him right now because the last 2 years, the Saints were that close to making the Super Bowl. And the first year was the Marcus Williams year when he had that miscue on Stephon Diggs. And then last year, obviously, the non-call with Nickeil Roby-Coleman. So this is hopefully third time's a charm for the Saints because I think everyone wants to see Drew Brees get one more.
Definitely.
He's not like Tom Brady where, people not disrespect, but they don't like Brady and the Patriots. I think everyone can agree that they respect Brees.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, people respect Brady, but a lot of people like Brees in addition to respecting him. So I think a lot of people, including myself, want to see the Saints back in the Super Bowl. And, Brees is out 6 weeks, so 4 more. And, every week is crucial. So
definitely.
Bridgewater definitely needs to live up to expectations here.
And they have Taysom Hill also.
Yeah.
They have that pivotal quarterback, running back, wide receiver. He plays every position. He's an amazing
Special
athlete.
teams.
Yes, too. He's a great athlete, and that secret weapon that they have really helps them.
Yeah. And, the Saints are interesting, too, because they've always been good. Brees has always been, obviously, he's always been great. But the thing that kept them from being such good Super Bowl contenders the last few years, they really haven't had a defense.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. And for the past 2 years, he has. They've drafted well on defense, and Drew Brees hasn't had to do everything for like the first 2 years, maybe, of his career. It was all on him for so many years, and that's the reason they never went back after they won. They didn't have a great running game. They didn't have great wide receivers. It was all on Drew Brees, and he lived up to it. They didn't win too many games, but he set so many records. But now you have Alvin Kamara. You have Michael Thomas. And it's good to see surrounding pieces, and it's good to see a Saints team back on top.
Yeah. So with that, thank you for coming on. Nice job in your first time.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a couple minutes. Mac will be on. And the MLB playoffs are just days away. So stay tuned.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Happy to have Mac Clune on the show with us.
Thank you. Happy to be on.
And, last week there was all that built up anticipation for the playoffs, and now they're here.
Yep.
First game is tomorrow night and the wild card, but we will be talking about that next segment. So first of all, we want to talk about how the regular season ended up individually and share some of our projections for these awards. So who's your MVP right now?
So first division we're going to be going over the AL. First, let's just go over the big one, MVP, and I'm taking Trout in MVP race this year. It's one of the few segments where I think that there's a good debate going on. It's between Trout and Alex Bregman, who is for the Astros. Trout this year put up a slash line of 45 home runs, 104 RBIs, a 1.083 OPS, 8.3 wins over replacement, and if he wins the award, it's going to be his third MVP in the last 6 years. So that's dominance. They're an interesting case because he's a great player, but he's still on a team that's not making the playoffs. And in Mike Trout's entire career, despite the fact that he is widely considered the best player and one of the best baseball players of all time, he has never once made the playoffs on this team. And that's seen with Brad Asmus. Their manager just got fired. So it looks like they're trying to make some changes to get him into the playoffs, but we'll see how it turns out.
We've talked about this before. I feel so bad for Mike Trout.
Mm-hmm.
He is the best player in the game right now, and he continuously wins MVP and finishes top 3, it seems like, in every category. And his defense is superb. And the only thing that's not good about Mike Trout is his team around him.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, he's never been to the playoffs. The Angels finished 72-90 this year. And I just feel bad for him. But go ahead.
Well, so it's interesting to look at this because you have Mike Trout, who I think is the best player in baseball still, but he's not making the playoffs, and that's his biggest argument against him being MVP and taking Alex Bregman, who is the best player on the best team in the whole league right now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So, people think, a lot of people, they think MVP, who has the most stats? Who's hitting 300, 50 home runs, 120 RBIs? But the key word, valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the most valuable player to their team? And obviously Mike Trout is very valuable to the Angels. If it wasn't for Trout, they'd probably have, 60 wins, if not less. But, you look at Bregman, 296, 41 home runs, 112 RBIs, and a 423 on base percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So the numbers are there, and his team is there too. The Angels are one of the projected teams to win the World Series, and if I were voting, I think I would give it to Bregman, just for the fact that he has his team in a position to win the World Series.
I can understand the argument. Again, he's the best player on the best team in baseball. So you look at it, and it's, you can go to Mike Trout, who I think Mike Trout's counting stats are better. Another interesting thing is that Mike Trout, he didn't play. I think he's been out since September 7th, so he missed the last few weeks of baseball.
Yeah.
So, it makes his stats even more impressive that he still has the edge over Bregman, despite the fact that he hasn't played baseball in 2 weeks. But you can also look at it as, he wasn't there to help his team out. I think the Angels were already out of it by April 7th, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then they fired their manager. Brad Asmus is gone. So
after 1 year.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be one of the most intriguing awards to watch here.
Who else do you think has maybe some votes in the for the AL MVP race? He's a Yankee. We got him here.
DJ LeMahieu. He's awesome. I love watching him. Whenever the Yankees need a hit, you can count on LeMahieu. I don't know his final numbers. I believe it was
he
like
batted 320.
321, 26 home runs, and
he had 100 RBI season.
100 RBIs, yeah. So, I mean, LeMahieu is just a great pickup for the Yankees.
It's his first year for the Yankees. Yeah, he was Colorado before. Yeah. No, you can really say he's the team's MVP easily. So.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely the Yankees MVP, and I think he's right behind Trout and Bregman for that third spot in the AL.
He's a big part of their offense. So we're going to move on in the AL. We're going to be going to the Cy Young.
Here's another interesting matchup.
The best pitcher in the league is the Cy Young Award, and this is a weird one because they're both on the Astros, of course. So our first is Justin Verlander with a 21-6 average, best in the league. Then he has a 2.58 ERA. He leads the AL in innings pitched, and it's his first ever 300 strikeout season, which is crazy.
And he just keeps getting better and better and older and older. Yep. I don't get it.
How old is Verlander now?
I think he's like 36.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Somewhere around it. Is it 36?
Yep. Okay. 36 years old, and he's still throwing up Cy Young potential seasons.
Yeah,
so.
and no-hitters.
Yep. Pitched a no-hitter recently, too. And then the runner-up, so this is interesting because this is another, just like the AL MVP, you can kind of go either way on this one. I think there's two really deserving guys. And the other one is Garrett Cole, who pitched 20-5, which is almost as good, with a 2.50 ERA, which is lower than Verlander's, and 326 strikeouts, which is a ridiculous year. And if I forgot to mention it, they're both on the Astros. So, yeah, they're a problem.
It's the Yankees fan problem because if we meet up with them, I do not want to face the three-headed monster of Verlander, Cole, and Greinke.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm torn here. I don't know who to go because, I mean, both of their numbers are outstanding. And if you were to look at, like, with the AL MVP, okay, well, Bregman has his team in a better position than Trout. Well, these guys are on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
So they're literally neck and neck right now.
Yeah, Bregman is on the Astros, too. You can see why people consider them the best team in the league, for sure. And Verlander actually just threw his 3,000th strikeout. The 19th pitcher in MLB history to do so.
Yeah, I think the only edge that Verlander has is age because he's about 10 years older than him, so that could be more impressive for, being valuable to a team due to his age. But
he leads the AL in innings pitched too, and his ERA is only 0.08 higher than Garrett Cole's. So, with about like 20 more pitches or innings pitched, and then he only has that much higher of a ERA. That's pretty impressive. And he leads the league in a WHIP this year too, long hits innings pitched.
So Astros just so many great players, and moving on to the AL Rookie of the Year, guess who? An Astro.
Yeah, more Astros.
You got to go Yordan Alvarez here, right?
Yeah, Yordan Alvarez is such a crazy case because he came in, I think, 10 days before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And since then, you can legitimately make an argument that he might be the best hitter in the AL in that time period. Half a season he's played, and he might be the best hitter in the AL. Where does this team, I'd be amazed if they didn't win it all, but that's next week anyway. Yordan Alvarez with 27 home runs, a .317 batting average, 3.8 WAR, and again, he was called up halfway through the season. And
87 games.
He's been a rock for like the best team in baseball. So, what can this guy do with a full, an entire season behind his belt?
And he's only 22. So.
Yep.
Hey, he was born one day before me. I just realized. But yeah, I mean, 87 games. And he has 78 RBIs, so that's almost one RBI for every game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's just nuts.
Yeah, I think he has an over 1,000 OPS too. So
1.067. So
yep,
just the Astros just keep piling it on with talent.
Well, it's baseball. You never know. All this talent, and DJ LeMahieu might hit 10 home runs, and it doesn't matter for anything.
Another It's not really an interesting case because I think Alvarez pretty much has it locked up. But going into the year, everyone had Vlad Guerrero Jr. taking this one home.
For the Jays, yeah.
And he had a solid year, but nothing special. 272, 15 home runs, 69
I'd say his
RBIs.
highlight was the home run derby.
Yeah. I saw him, I went to a game. The Blue Jays are playing the Royals, and I saw him hit a home run, so that was cool. But
he was, like a huge prospect, and he was brought up. But there's another slugger that surpassed him this year, and I think we'll get to him in the next segment coming up here.
Your guy.
Yep, my guy. One and
so,
only.
Yeah. I think it has to be Alvarez here.
Yordan Alvarez, and then we got John Means, who was the Orioles pitcher, like a really solid starting season, 3.60 ERA, 4.6 WAR, 12-11, just like a really solid rookie season for a pitcher. And then Brandon Lowe for the Rays, who was injured for a while. He eventually came back and has been producing great as a second baseman for them. And they're in the really important wild card game. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up to our break here, and when we come back, we'll be here with the NL awards.
I'll be right back. Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
All right, so now moving to the NL for MVP, Mac. I think we both agree here, Cody Bellinger.
Yep. I think it's got to be Cody Bellinger. The other people were Christian Yelich and Anthony Rendon. However, unfortunately, Christian Yelich got hurt and missed the last few weeks of the season. And Anthony Rendon, I don't think, is on the level of Bellinger. So,
yeah.
Going back to Bellinger, though, he put up a 47 home run season, 115 RBIs, 8.9 wins over replacement, led the entire league, and completed his third-year breakout season. I don't think he hit the ridiculous average that he was going for all year, but he finished strong. I think he had like a 302 average, which is still very solid.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the AL MVP because the Dodgers obviously needed him this year.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the Brewers, as much as they needed Yelich, or as we thought they needed Yelich, they became red hot after he got hurt.
Yep.
And I don't remember what their record was in the last 20 games or whatever it was since he went out, but they went on a hot streak and got in that wild card spot.
They had a low chance
without Yelich.
They had a low chance to make it, and they took the Cubs out and took the spot for themselves. So.
And it's also worth noting real quick, Joe Madden is out after 5 years in Chicago. And for that matter, Clint Hurdle is out after 9 years in Pittsburgh. So we already have 3 managerial shakeups going on here.
Yep, a lot of coach firings at the end of the season. And it's teams that need it. Like the Cubs dropped the ball, not making the playoffs. With Yelich, I can't blame him because it's baseball and baseball's weird, so things like that are going to happen. But I do think that at the end of the day, when you take their stats between Bellinger and Yelich, I think Bellinger had a better season.
Yeah.
And he's on, second best team, third best team in baseball. He's their best player for sure, no doubt about it.
So moving to the Cy Young, I have another Dodger winning this one. I have Hyunjin Ryu.
You have Ryu for this.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
you have one of your guys.
As a Mets fan, I heavily disagree with that. My standpoint with this award is that I believe Jacob deGrom, who is my pick for Cy Young, I believe he has 30 more innings pitched than Ryu. So, and his ERA, I believe, is only .08 higher. So in 30 extra innings, he kept his ERA relatively on the same level. So I just feel like if you put Ryu out there for an extra 30 innings, who knows what his ERA would be. It could really balloon up.
True. I have Ryu because he is 14-5 this year, 2.32 ERA.
He's got a better record than deGrom.
Yeah. 1.01 WHIP. And the Dodgers, I mean, he's been one of the key factors in getting the Dodgers to 106 wins this year. And it's been a nice bounce back year for him for sure. I mean, he was 7-3 last year, but he had some injuries that he was battling. The year before, he was 5-9. In 2016, it was more injuries. I can't remember what it was, but he only pitched one game. So he was 0-1 in 2016. So, and then he missed all of 2015 too.
Yep.
So it was a really nice bounce back year for Ryu.
He got Tommy John surgery.
I think so, yeah.
He came back from it. Yeah, no, he hasn't been in the league that long. He came into the league in 2013, and so far he's had really solid seasons, but he hasn't put together one of those seasons where, worthy of a Cy Young season yet. But I think that if he's got an argument, this is the year for it. He does, what is deGrom's innings pitched here? Yeah, deGrom has 30 more innings pitched, which is my argument for deGrom. And deGrom also has a lot more wins over replacement than him, with 7.3, Hyunjin Ryu's 6. So almost a win over replacement over Ryu, which is, I'd say a significant difference. Maybe I'm just biased, but I don't know.
Well, a category that I will take one of your guys in, you have to, NL MVP, Pete Alonso. I mean, you can't say enough about this guy. 53 home runs, 120 RBIs, broke the home run record set by my guy, Aaron Judge.
Yep.
And
kept it in New York.
It was just an insane year for him. So, I mean, that's a unanimous MVP for me.
Yeah, I think he's going to get every vote for this. There's no doubt in my mind that if you hit 53 home runs, 120 RBIs, you break the rookie home run record, and not only that, you break the Mets' actual franchise record by 12 home runs. And you lead rookies in the league in rookie in NL in WAR, like wins over replacement. I think it's got to be unanimous for him. There were some other good rookies. Mike Soroka for the Braves put up a really solid season with a 2.6 ERA for the Braves this year. He came out of nowhere for a season where the Braves really struggled with their starting pitching, and he came out and he's been pitching really well for them, and he's helped them make the playoffs. And then another one is Fernando Tatis Jr., who played for the Padres, who came out, and if he kept playing, I honestly think that he could have challenged Pete for the Rookie of the Year, but around mid-season, a little bit after the All-Star break, he hurt his back, and he's been out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he had a really good rookie year.
So how do you feel? A question for you, Kevin. How do you feel about Aaron Judge's record being broken by Pete Alonso? When you saw the news, how did it make you feel?
I was happy for him. I like Pete Alonso. He's a good guy. And, I mean, he started crying afterwards, too. So it just shows how much it meant to him. And, I mean, records are meant to be broken. 52 is still an incredible number. So the record was broken, but
I thought that record was unbeatable, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
And then it just happened this year, which is absolutely crazy. And he only beat it by 1, so 53. He just barely scraped by on it.
I can't imagine what he's going to be like next year. Does he drop off? Does he hit 60?
Honestly, as much as I love the guy, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like one of his best seasons he has. Like it's such a crazy season for him. I mean, he has good stats too. He hit for average 260, put up 5.1 wins over replacement, 120 RBIs. Like how many people had 120 RBIs in the season? Like 3 or 4 or something. It's ridiculous. And he's a rookie. He's 24 years old. Mets are going to have him for a long time.
Yeah, and one category we forgot to mention in the AL segment, just reminded me because we're about to do in the NL, Manager of the Year. So we'll go back to the AL first. CBS has Aaron Boone, Rocco Baldelli, and Bob Melvin as their top 3. And I got to go with...
I like Boone. I think I take Boone.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, I
What's your
appreciate
pick?
that as being a Mets fan. I got to go Baldelli here.
Baldelli?
It's his first year in Minnesota, and the Twins had an incredible year. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't remember what the record was last year, but they had a pretty poor season last year, and he completely turned them around. And I'm going Baldelli here.
Minnesota Twins, their final record was, 1 second here. The final record was 101, so they won 100 games, 101 and 61, which is a really big turnaround over the previous year. I like Aaron Boone because I feel like, as being around a lot of Yankees fans, I felt like last year and at the beginning of this year, I heard a lot of criticism for Aaron Boone, and even some people calling for him to be fired. So
yeah, I didn't agree with any of that.
Yeah, so it's nice to see him come around and see this team perform to like the level of talent that we know it can perform to.
Yeah, and then Bob Melvin's a great candidate too because the A's every year just find a way to get it done with one of the lowest payrolls in the league. So 3 really nice candidates for AL Manager of the Year, and then for the NL, Craig Counsell, Mike Shildt, Dave Roberts, Brian Snitker, and Dave Martinez. So who's your choice here?
The Brewers manager. I got to take him.
I was going to take Counsell too.
Yeah, that team just put on the gas, and they were able to make the playoffs out of nowhere and just break through all these other teams that were picked ahead of them, and nobody gave them a doubt. They lost their star player in Yelich, who broke his kneecap, and they were able to just completely push through and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to say that the last 20 games, I think, won Craig Counsell Manager of the Year. Because to take that team without your star player and to still find a way to get in the playoffs, I mean, really nice job from Craig Counsell. I mean, all these other guys had great years too. You can make a case for any of them, but I was really impressed with the Brewers' finish to the year. So just a couple minutes left, and we have to talk about the playoffs real quick. So the bracket is...
We're not going to do any picks, but we are going to go over our bracket.
We'll save that for next week. But the bracket is, in the AL wild card, we have Tampa Bay and Oakland. The winner plays Houston. The Twins and the Yankees. And obviously the 2 winners play each other in the ALCS. So a lot of people have the Yankees and Astros right now. I do, but we'll get into that next week.
Yep.
And then in the NL, we have Milwaukee and Washington. In the wild card, the winner plays the Dodgers. And then the Braves play the Cardinals.
Yep.
And obviously that winner plays the winner of the Dodgers and either Brewers or Nationals.
The World Series. It's a really interesting playoffs bracket. I have no idea what's going to happen. I think that the AL is one of the craziest playoff brackets I've seen in any sport recently. I think that any team can make it out of that easily, even either of the wild card teams.
I mean, you have 3 teams in the AL with over 100 wins.
Yep.
It's just insane. So real quick, we won't do I won't ask you for your winner, but what's your ALCS and NLCS look
My
like
ALCS
right now?
and NLCS, I'm taking Yankees, Astros, and then Braves, Dodgers. So I'm going to go.
That's what I have too, actually. But we will save our World Series prediction for next week. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, the playoffs start tomorrow, actually. The first wild card game is tomorrow with the Brewers and Nationals, and then Wednesday is the Rays and the Athletics. So with that, I'm Kevin Syracuse with Matt Clune, and you have been watching WNYF TV Sports Hour. So tune back in next Monday, same time, same place. Have a good week.